Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today I have two computers, one video game, head-to-head match. Today I'm going to be looking at the microdeal game Grabber. It was released on the Commodore 64 and the Tandy Colour Computer. Well, sort of the Tandy Colour Computer. It was originally on the Dragon, but it was also ported to the Tandy Colour Computer at that time. So, let's take a look at them. First off, what is Grabber? Well, Grabber is a video game released by Microdeal for the Dragon 32 and the C64. The Tandy version, which I'll be playing, was released by Tom Mix Software. And I did say that they're both Microdeal games, because Tom Mix Software is the US software house that licensed a lot of Dragon games, mostly games by Microdeal. So they just released them to the North American market. What we have here is the cover of the cassette tape for the Dragon 32, and as it says on here, Grabber is another addictive game from Microdeal. You must grab the 8 treasures and store them in the center box of 2 mazes, upper and lower, switching mazes at will. Sounds easy? It would be if the googlies didn't keep moving your treasures and you could avoid the monsters who are out to destroy you. Different mazes at each level, including bonus maze, full color graphics with accompanying music, arcade action, machine language game. Now, the object of the game, as it says in the instructions here, is to grab the treasures one at a time, the eye in each corner of the 2 mazes, and store them in the center boxes. Passing over the treasures will grab them, and entering the center boxes will store them. The monsters are out to kill you. When he appears, he is the same color as you, and while this is the case, his touch kills you. You can rectify this situation by passing over the X. This will change your color and allow you to kill him, but the situation only lasts for a very short time. Also, remember, you only have 4 X's per maze. Use them wisely. Alright, I am running this 6309 version of the game here because, well, I've got a 6309 CPU in my Tandy Colour Computer 3, and it would not run the original version, so I had to use the updated version. But as you can see here, Tom Mix Software, Grabber. Nice little title screen, copyright 1983. Now you just have to hit the number of players. And here you have the mazes. You've got one maze on top of the other. They are different, obviously. So you go around and you got to grab the little pieces out of the corners and put them into the center. And you hit the fire button to pass between the top maze and the bottom maze. The white box in the maze you're not in is where you will be appearing if you hit the fire button. You cannot form yourself on top of anything else. As you can see, I'm blue, the bad guy's blue, so he would kill me right now if he touched me. So what I have to do is if I eat one of those little white power pellet things, then I would be able to be a different color and kill them. But we're both blue there, so he killed me. And that is essentially how you play Grabber. You got to pay attention to where everything is on both mazes and just hop back and forth. And you do not have to when you take a piece from a corner, it doesn't have to go into the center of that maze. You can move it into the opposite maze, and so yeah, you can move things back and forth. Alright, now we'll take a look at the C64 version. So unfortunately, I'm running this on an emulator because I have my Commodore 64 with me. As you see, from the beginning, I'm not currently at home. I'm at my cabin. And I brought everything with me except for one cable. The cable I need to plug the Commodore 64 into a TV and get a signal. So hopefully that will be making it here soon. But yeah, for now it's going to have to be an emulator. Now, as you can see, the title screen is quite a bit different from the Tandy version. And this is the game right here. So the gameplay, exactly the same as the Tandy version. You just have to move back and forth between the two mazes. The look is a little bit different, but I guess we're going to have to compare these. So let's put them both up on screen so we can have a look and see what they look like side by side. Now that we have these side by side, we can compare them. So probably the first thing that you'll notice is that the Tandy version is widescreen. Well, that's not how it normally is, but the fact that I am using a switcheroo going into an RGB solution, it automatically stretches it into widescreen. So it doesn't look bad on games, and it certainly makes 80-column text a lot easier to read. Otherwise, it doesn't affect the gameplay at all. So the first thing we'll talk about is the music. Well, let's give a listen to the C64. Alright, now we will listen to the Tandy computer. Now they are both just generally repeating music like most games. I've never been a big fan of that going through the entire game. I like it better if it's just at the beginning of a level or when you first start off after you start off a new man. But I do have to say that the C64 music is probably the better one here. It's not as harsh as the Tandy music, but of course that's because the C64 has a dedicated SID chip. So one thing that did surprise me is that the C64 version actually doesn't have any title screen music, whereas the Tandy one does. I thought that was a little bit strange. Now we'll talk about the graphics. Well, the C64 graphics are a little bit chunkier, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially on old games like this. I like the chunky look of the graphics on it, so that is nice, but I do actually like the color choices of the Tandy a lot better, with the two different color mazes, the black background. I like that better. But I think they're both pretty decent. Now we will talk about gameplay. Well, the gameplay is basically the same, or as far as I can tell. Unfortunately, using an emulator for the C64, I don't have a period appropriate joystick to play it with. I do have to say that probably the C64 version is a little bit harder because the bad guys spawn a little bit quicker, I would say. And yeah. Other than that, I would say the gameplay is very similar. The mazes are the same. There's a bonus level, which is the same on both games. I guess the best way to tell whether you think the gameplay is better on one or the other is to try out both versions. So as I look at it, the music is a bit better on the C64 than on the Tandy one. And the graphics I would have to say they're not bad on the C64, but I do like the Tandy ones better just because of the black background, and B, the having two different colored mazes. And for gameplay, well, as near as I can tell, not having a period appropriate joystick to play on the C64, the gameplay seems to be very similar, slightly harder, I would say, on the C64. But maybe that was because I'm using an emulator without the proper joystick. Well, there you go. That is Grabber for the Commodore 64 and the Tandy Colour Computer. Now, if you watch my channel, you know I'm a bit of a Tandy guy. It's what I grew up with and what I know the best. So I do have to give the slight advantage to the Tandy Colour Computer just because that's what's really in my heart. But they're both awesome versions. So whether you have a Commodore 64, a Dragon, or a Tandy Colour Computer, I think you should give this game a try because it is awesome, challenging, and a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what you can do with the liking, the subscribing, and the commenting below, because anything and everything you do is always greatly appreciated. See you next time.